My horrible son pranked an autistic girl on the day of prom, so I grounded him for a month. He called his dad to pick him up, and now he refuses to speak to me. My ex-husband and I have had a really ugly custody fight over our son Jack. Over the years, he has unsuccessfully tried to get Jack to move to New York to live with him. It wasn't easy to fight him off since he's a very successful lawyer, but Jack ultimately chose to live under my roof, meaning he had to follow my rules. But recently, his friends came up with a prank for him to ask a heavily autistic girl who had a crush on him to the prom, as a joke, and for him to show up wearing a gorilla suit. Jack said no at first, but his friends raised a fund for him to do it that earned them $800, and they paid for the gorilla suit. Jack agreed to it, which I thought was really out of character for him. I didn't know about this until after the prom. I was looking around on Instagram and saw pictures of him in the gorilla suit. I was surprised that he didn't take his girlfriend, but after reading the comments, I learned what happened. To say I was furious doesn't even do it justice. I woke up Jack immediately and screamed at him until my lungs gave out. When my husband heard all of this, he joined in, but Jack quickly told him to F off. The two have never gotten along, though I don't know why. We took away Jack's electronics, and we had paid for a car as his graduation present, but we gave it to my stepdaughter. We thought he didn't deserve it after that horrible prank and disrespect to my husband. We also forced him to give the $800, gave it to his date, and made him write a letter of apology. He was grounded for a month, and we canceled his 18th birthday party. When his birthday came, my ex-husband showed up with suitcases. The thing is, the custody agreement says he doesn't get him on this birthday. My ex-husband didn't care about that though, and told Jack, "Hey kid, I'm here for the jailbreak. Hope you like Fords. You can practice driving your new car on a road trip back to New York. Let's take a detour to NOLA." The two of them were laughing, high-fiving, backslapping, and ignoring us as we tried to intervene. The only time my ex acknowledged me was to look me in the eye and say as cold as ice, "Checkmate," and for Jack to yell as they were driving off, "F off." Since then, Jack has gone totally no contact with me, but kept in little contact with his stepsister, who's telling me his dad is giving him the royal treatment, bringing him to steakhouses, Yankees games, and just giving him outright cash. It has been almost a year, and I'm going crazy thinking I've lost my son. Jack doesn't realize that I've been parenting him, while his dad is solely spoiling him, which isn't good in the long run. I reached out to my ex to see if he'd be willing to consider brokering peace between me and Jack. About a week later, I got a response telling me to meet him and Jack at a cafe in Manhattan. He arranged a 6 a.m. flight and put me in a dodgy hotel in the most dangerous neighborhood in New York City. I arrived and saw my ex, Jack, his girlfriend, who had an engagement ring on her finger, and a lawyer. The lawyer said Jack has a claim against me for stealing $840, and until that is resolved, I am not to contact him. I told him that's the money his friends paid him for the prank, so I gave it to the girl. He was aware of the circumstances, but nonetheless, it wasn't my money, and under the law, it was a theft, and Jack has a legal claim against me. I said I don't care if it was against the law. Jack had no right to that money, and they could sue me if they wanted. Jack said, "You locked me up in my room like a prisoner for a month, took the car bought for me with dad's child support money, took the money and berated me for hours on end. Unless you're going to give me the car, this is the only thing you can undo. You said you wished we could have handled it better, so here's your chance." Or was that just BS lip service? I told him I was sorry, but I can't do it. The lawyer then gave me a cease and desist letter telling me to not contact Jack and to address all communication directly to the lawyer. Jack and his girlfriend left, so I asked my ex if we could talk for a minute. I asked him if he brought me there to humiliate me, and he said actually no, he didn't. He brought me so I could humiliate myself. He'd actually worked very hard to get Jack to the point where he'd be open to talking to me again if I were willing to back down just a little. But he knew that if I had to choose between my anger and my own son, I'd choose my anger every time, just like I did in our marriage. I asked him why he'd put us all through that. He said it was because a part of him wondered if I'd ever learn to pick love over anger. He bet his future that I wouldn't when he divorced me. So he had to see for himself how it actually turned out after all these years later. I asked him if Jack was just a pawn in his game. He said no. If I actually would have picked Jack, he'd be with me now, and there would have been nothing anyone could have done to stop it. But instead, my anger over a stranger was more important to me than learning to move on with my own son. I asked him what about the girl. He then said, "I hope she'll be a wonderful daughter to you since you lost a son for her." I told him I didn't know the girl. So he said, "Sounds like a bad trade," and left. Also, I'm apparently not invited to Jack's wedding.